Hi, I'm Rob Campbell. Today we're talking with Brian Garofalow, the Chief Marketing Officer for Igloo. Brian, there's been a lot of buzz around what you've been doing with the brand in the past 2 years that you've been there, have been 2 years. I thought it'd be great to kind of just jump in and hear like it's around from your perspective, kind of where things stand now, and if that growth, lives up to the hype, what people have been talking about, what's going on with you.
Sure thing. First off, Rob, thanks for having me. Great to be able to talk to you again. It's been a while. And yes, Igloo's definitely got a lot of energy behind it right now. We're in the midst of a growth phase, and we have an entire new executive leadership team, a lot of great new brand initiatives, and it's definitely been working.
So, Brian, it's great to hear you talking about growth. Right now, it seems almost improbable given current circumstances. So, first of all, congrats on that. And two, where's a lot of that growth coming from for you guys right now?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Well, look, obviously we're talking about COVID-19 and the global pandemic that's happening. So with any situation like this, there tends to be companies that take off like a skyrocket, and also companies that it affects really, really bad. So for Igloo, we've at the beginning we definitely felt the burden of everybody being locked at home, some people losing their jobs, and our retail shut down. So we have a huge network of retailers in the U.S. When they were closed, either nationally or on a local level, that meant we stopped selling products. Period. While we did that, we also did a big promotion to rally our community to try and raise some funds for first responders direct to consumer. That worked really, really well. But then the net benefit at the end, or I guess fast forward to where we are now, stimulus checks have landed, retailers have opened back up, but there's a whole lot of caution out there. So people are still staying home and not taking the standard big summer vacations. So more of the staycations and backyard barbecues and camping and staying close to home. So with that comes an increased need for coolers. So we literally cannot keep supply in right now.
So let's jump back a minute and talk there. I mean, obviously, this is going to be a COVID-19 involved discussion. You can't talk business without it right now. Let's talk about that initiative, what you guys did early on to send funds to first responders and people on the front lines. I'd like to hear, first of all, why you saw that as a priority at a time when you're trying to, save your business, keep revenue coming in, and then how you're able to pivot so quickly and execute on that.
Well, we're a leader in our category. As a leader in the space, we always feel a great sense of community, also a great sense of responsibility to that community. First responders are actually a huge part of our customer set. So we know when they're putting their lives on the line, literally for us, we want to do what we can to help support them. So the idea really came about where we have a growing direct-to-consumer business. We knew this was actually an opportunity for us to accelerate that growth. We have a growing business with our Playmate specific product lines, which are mostly focused on licensed partnership, really cool art and color. We knew we had an opportunity to grow that business as well. So we mashed all those ideas together, went out to our community and said, look, for the next month, we're going to deliver 100% of our profits to the CDC Foundation for all of these Playmate coolers that you would want to purchase on igloocoolers.com. We also have a really great depth and breadth of that product line right now. So there's something for everybody. And the messaging worked. So the community is really holistic when we think about it as well. So we started that very quickly with just some of our own color blocked products, some of our own art that we've created internally. But we had to reach out to incredible partners like Disney, Lucas, Viacom, Volkswagen, brands that we have great license partnerships with to get their approval to include them in the promotion, and also include their intellectual property in our marketing and messaging of the promotion. So it worked well. We got to move really quick, and to date, we've donated about $300,000 to the CDC Foundation, and we were able to deliver them funds, have them procure PPE and put it right in the hands of first responders when they needed it the most.
Very impressive. So when you talk about getting that program going so quickly, how are you communicating to the consumer base? Like, how was the word getting out? You didn't have time to do a big marketing push, plan months in advance. This is something that was happening on the fly.
Right. This is the beauty of e-commerce and digital marketing tactics. So for us to be able to be quick to market with our concepts, our response, and actually get assets out into the marketplace, it was as simple as come up with the messaging, write the copy, create some assets with some solid graphic design that clearly communicated what we want to do. And then we use tactics like email, social media, both organic and paid social media, and also PR, really leaned on our ambassador and influencer community to go help share the message for us. Then we really benefited from that snowball effect. So after we started to see some progress, you see more PR land. When you see the flow-on effect from ambassadors, they're sharing the message. Some of their audience is purchasing the products, and then they're resharing the message. We did some really organic and simple grassroots tactics as well, like putting a thank you card in the shipping box of every single product. Awesome exponential effect of what you see happening with social media these days.
So you just outlined what would be an impressive execution anytime, but now you're doing this in the midst of the COVID outbreak affecting your employees and their daily lives too, and not being centralized. What did you learn about your team, and what do you think that the company overall, how the organization structure helped people execute under those kind of conditions?
That's an awesome question. I love sharing this. Where the learning lessons we have clearly defined company culture, and we really strive to these objectives as a team. So two of the things that I think we really exemplified well were, one, we win as a team. So this effort was bigger than selling coolers. So the team members really appreciated that we were doing something that helped a broader community. So it was roll up our sleeves and go get the job done. And then another one is we call it fail fast. It's a part of our culture. So we try a lot of stuff, and actually a third part of the corporate culture is we're scrappy. So we love rolling up our sleeves, getting our hands dirty, and just going for it. So this is a great example of, we didn't have all of our agency partners involved from the very first step. We got together over Zoom and said, here's the idea. How are we going to execute this? And let's literally have assets done by the end of the day. So we took some existing work, we threw it together, we put it out there literally in a day, and started seeing responses from traffic coming back that we can record with things like Google Analytics. Now, in that process, we found out a lot of fun things like, oops, we spelled this word wrong, or, oh man, there's two different assets that are supposed to be the same asset, but we sent one picture out on a press release and a different picture out on social media. So as time went by, obviously we find those things out, we fix them, we get better. But by the end of the promotion, the well-oiled machine you talk about, 30 days into this, I was feeling like we were executing really, really well.
So even before you were forced into this kind of extraordinary circumstance, you were experiencing some success as it was since you got there with the strategy at a time when there were plenty of people, putting $10 12 packs and $300 coolers. You came in with a different strategy. So you really went heavy in that $40 price point, leveraging the legacy of the Playmate with the collaborations. What was it about the strategy made? What brought you in when you came to Igloo? Like, what was it about that niche that really caught your eye?
Well, look, Rob, we know each other for years and years through surfing and skateboarding in that industry. Coolers tend to be actually pretty similar in mindset of the consumer. So we have a lot of consumers that are using our products specifically for a passionate purpose. I'm a fisherman, I'm a hunter, or I like to party with my friends. And this is something that helps us get that job done. So Igloo just so happens to be an opening price point and mid price point brand. So we've always had that value proposition. We have a gigantic manufacturing plant in Katy, Texas. So we're made in the USA. That's an incredible value proposition that's never been talked about on the macro sense. And then we really just set out to craft positioning 2 years ago. And how are we different than the competitive set? Why would our consumers care? And then really defining who are those key consumers and speak to them the way they want to be spoken to. So it sounds like really simple things, but easy for brands to miss the mark. When we have defined consumers, we have defined brand positioning. It really helped us craft our tone of voice, build the strategy of what are the projects we're going to go execute on and why. And we've got a lot of smart people in the room, so we're able to come up with the right strategy. We've got a lot of talented people in the room, so when it comes down to planning and tactical, we can actually go get the job done. And it worked. So we're in the middle of feeling some great momentum and wind at our back. And that's a great feeling to be able to take a legacy brand that has 75 years of American heritage and history, dust it off, and give people a reason to smile again. I mean, these are such easy stories to tell, but I'm sure the vast majority of the audience has an Igloo memory, and they know, they remember the cooler, what it looked like, what color it was, and what they packed in it when they went on a road trip with their family when they were kids. And that same cooler is probably still in the parents' garage, or maybe in the back of a pickup truck, or up at a cabin, or in a fishing boat now. And chances are, when you think about that, you're having a good experience, so it puts a smile on your face. That made it a whole lot easier to take the challenge of Igloo and put some momentum behind it versus having to, really take a completely different approach and change tactics. This was more just, helping make the fire happen with the spark that was already there.
Sure. And so as an experienced marketer, you've been a part of big pre-existing brands, you've done startups. How does your approach, your mentality differ when you go into a situation like this versus, just kind of mapping something new out? And do you prefer one or the other?
I definitely wouldn't say I prefer one or the other. I'm a consumer goods guy. I'm a marketing guy. I love building stuff and seeing things grow. And, there's no better feeling for people like me than when you see people out in the wild experiencing your product, experiencing your brand, using it the way that you would hope they would. That just feels great. So to answer your question about the difference between a startup and an established brand, well, really we have 75 years of DNA. So there's an incredible archive of history, of storytelling, things that you really want to honor. You want to plus up the best parts about it. You want to pull things out of the archive that can be relevant to an audience today. Perfect example of that is we have a Throwback collection that's performing incredibly well for us. That it's a group of 5 products that we built originally in 1992. And we knew right now the 90s are incredibly hot in the marketplace with consumer goods and a millennial audience. And the incredible idea we had to capitalize on that was do what we already did 25 years ago. So we literally just had to take the exact same products that we knew would put smiles on people's faces, dust them off, make them again, and create a modern version of the old original content. And people loved it.
What are some of the other reasons you see to believe right now from like a bigger, taking a step back?
Sure. I think one of the important things to know when we're talking about specialty industries is we have an incredible group of specialty retailers that really connect closest to our best consumers and people that really are passionate about specific activities. They're always going to shop in those retailers. Those retailers are always going to provide incredible service and be able to give, an experience when you're purchasing at retail. On the flip side of that, we also know the convenience, the ability to price compare, the ability to compare products with features and benefits against each other. You can't beat it online. And before COVID-19, there was about a 13% share of cart at retail with direct-to-consumer sales. Here we are at what we're hoping is the tail end of COVID-19, and that's jumped all the way north of 30%. And we're talking about gaining, 1 to 2 points a year, and now to gain 15 in the span of a couple months. It's incredible. It's creating new shopping habits, and it's just something that we've got to be there, and we've got to give this service to our consumers. So as we do that, we're growing our channel organically. We're also doing everything we can to give consumers the best possible experience there, and that really accelerates the growth of that channel. Also, holistically, when we're looking at direct-to-consumer, that is our .com, that's our Amazon business, and that is really great relationships with quality retailers and supporting them with content, with copy, with photo, with video, with reviews on their direct-to-consumer websites as well.
Those numbers you talked about and the rapid growth for direct-to-consumer, do you expect those to be locked in now for a while? Or do you think it'll recede a bit as more stuff opens up and we move forward?
So we definitely expect the growth to slow with things like year-over-year numbers. But as far as share of total business, we definitely expect that to be a whole lot larger than we had originally planned in 2020, and continue, to outpace growth of physical retail.
And then, even though it was a main direct consumer play for your initial, COVID-19 response and donations, was there a way that some of the retailers were able to then, eventually participate in the overall plan?
Yeah, there was, and this is a really cool story. So we have incredible retail partners that we've done business with for a long time. And when we're talking about being a leader in our category, they're really leaders in their category. We are able to share our initial success and what we had done with the COVID-19 response with Playmate coolers and making donations to the CDC Foundation. And Walmart actually stepped up to the plate and said, we'd like to help. And right now, you can go into one of 4,000 Walmart stores all across America and purchase an Igloo cooler on an end cap with an exclusive color and a POP sticker that tells you a portion of proceeds from that sale are donated to the CDC Foundation. And with one quick initiative that we turned around in about 30 days with Walmart, we're able to donate almost $100,000 to the CDC Foundation.
So rightfully so. We spent a lot of time talking about your COVID response. What about some of the other major initiatives you have going on, specifically with the Recool Coolers?
Yeah, thanks for asking about that, Rob. We have an entire category that's dedicated to environmentally sensitive products that we call EcoCool. So it started about a year ago. We were able to bring to market this product we call Recool. This is the world's first cooler that's made from 100% biodegradable materials. So this is paper pulp and a hydrophobic agent that kind of glues it all together. So it's completely biodegradable, compostable, recyclable. It's a replacement for your $5 station styrofoam cooler. It's reusable. It's incredibly cheap. It's very lightweight. It's strong. It's just a better product for the environment. So we put that in our thought process around strategic growth. So what are the new products we're going to bring to market? How are we going to grow this brand in a way that is sustainable for the future? So we now have products partnered with Reprieve. I'm sure a lot of your listeners are familiar with them. Reprieve is a polyester fiber that's made from recycled plastic bottles in several of our soft side cooler bags. And we're really excited to be able to report in 2021, we'll be the first company to ever have a completely recycled resin plastic cooler in the marketplace, and you're going to see a whole lot of them. So one of our goals is actually to be the most environmentally sensitive cooler company on the planet, and we've got a really great head start on that. So excited to report it.
Just touching on some of those things we just discussed, I mean, how big of a role now does cause marketing play in your planning process, and how are you evaluating, and prioritizing what your initiatives are going to be, what kind of resources and bandwidth you're going to put against, different topics?
So we look at cause marketing three ways. One, the actual product category of our EcoCool product line. So these are all products that have a low environmental impact, and we're looking to make that as big a part of our overall product line as we possibly can. Two, we have a couple corporate partners. So we work with two organizations specifically. One is Keep America Beautiful. Their entire reason for being is teaching people how to keep their local environment clean and also teach them how to recycle. Number two is the American Cancer Society. So this is really a people initiative for us. It affects such a broad group in the US and the world, and we do some money raising initiatives for them. And then last is response marketing. So as a leader in our category, if something horrific and unplanned happens to a big group of our consumers, we want to be there and help how we possibly can. So it's not a can we do something, it's what do we do and how fast can we do it.
So I'm hearing, as far as the prioritization goes of so many good initiatives and good opportunities, you're kind of filtering it through of relevance to the brand and the people attached to your brand, the people that work there.
Yeah, a really easy way to think about it is product, planet, and people.
I think it makes sense to talk a little bit about the role of leadership these days. I mean, obviously, you're as a company that's continuing to function and wants to succeed, for the long term, benefit of its employees and everyone. Leadership seems so key right now in this time. What are you kind of seeing as far as the morale and the focus, and how are you, if people kind of have a hard time balancing what's going on in their personal life versus work life, what ways have you seen management in your company support individuals?
Yeah, wow, it's really intense to think about it, especially at a time right now when every single person individually has how a situation is affecting them. So COVID in particular, man, it's hitting so many people so hard and in so many different ways that there's just a level of empathy that is required in times like we currently have. That's got to be at the forefront of leadership these days. I think a lot of people listening are going to be in the same experience that we're all in. We've worked for some really great leaders, and we've worked for probably some not so great leaders over our careers. I think the lessons that I've learned from the best ones and the lessons that I try to enact in my day-to-day management are telling the truth, be very clear, be very consistent, always communicate. So if something's happening that's affecting my staff, I want to let them know as fast as humanly possible. If COVID-19 hits and there's a lot of uncertainty around, am I going to have a job? Am I going to take a pay cut? Are we going to do something to help nurses and doctors? Act quickly. Make a definitive decision that makes sense for your organization. Put a line in the sand. Come up with the strategy and the plan as fast as you can. Communicate that clearly, articulate as well as you possibly can, and then motivation. Rally the troops behind why this is a good idea, why we're all in it together, and let's go do some good. So yeah, I think, if we can summarize it, it's really all about taking that quick action, being decisive, communicating well for your team, but then also being empathetic to the individual. And when there is an outlier situation or something specific for an individual, take the time, understand it, and help and coach and be there as a leader, also be there as an empathetic voice to listen sometimes.
And with communication being so key, how have you overcome some of the challenges of communicating when the staff can be remote and scattered and distracted in a lot of ways?
I Zoom bomb people. I just drop in on all my people's Zooms unexpected, so I hear all their secrets.
I'm sure they appreciate that.
Look, I'm a technology guy. I absolutely love being able to use technology for the best of its use, and how it can make up for how terrible I am as a human when it comes to things like memory or keeping a schedule. So communication, planning, calendaring, project management, all of these things are really easily achievable with the right technology tools. So, a close to home example, my organization works with a project management tool, a digital asset management tool. We're on Microsoft Teams together for internal communication and messaging. And then we use Zoom for internal and external large party meetings. So we've got our tool chest, we've got our regular set of meetings, and then outside of that, just try to keep as much of an open door policy as possible, and always be welcoming and make the time to listen and learn and be able to act.
How has your previous experience in the action sports industry translated to what you're doing now at Igloo, and how is that experience kind of received by the company right now with the company culture?
I love the experience that I've had with action sports, particularly skateboarding. It's just so scrappy by nature when it comes to marketing. Not a lot of brands that I've worked with have had huge budgets. It's only happened a couple times. I think you get a lot more creative when you're resource limited, and being able to take that mindset of how to make $1 out of 15 cents, but also just one of the things that people in the action sports industry have, bar none, better than anybody in any industry I've ever seen, is the understanding of authenticity, passion for what you do, the triggers that you can pull to get people to move, what the creative should look like, how you should distribute it, who you should partner with, straight up what's cool and what might not be as cool. So being able to take all of those lessons, bring them to a place like Igloo, and really create momentum with a brand like this. I couldn't have done it without coming from the action sports world. Absolutely not.
You have some really impressive licensing partners. I'd like to know, from your perspective, how you evaluate in your mind what makes a great collaboration, and how you go about choosing the right partners to work with.
That's another great question. I think this is another one that the action sports industry just really innately gets. So taking a lot of those principles that I've learned in the past and being able to apply to Igloo. So strategically, we know where we want to go with the Playmate business, with license and partnerships. So the magic is who we pick, when we pick them, why we pick them. And to answer that question directly, there's really 3 criteria. Number 1 is, are they aligned with our brand positioning? Our brand positioning is a fun little acronym we call FADA, FADA, which is fun, American, durable, and accessible. So if there's a brand out there that makes sense and aligns with that, we get to check that box. Close to home, we worked with NHS and independent trucks. So obviously they're going to tick all those boxes from the big picture. Then we look at our core consumer groups. So we have 4 core consumer groups, and if we know the license or the partner speaks well to one or multiple of those groups, we get to check that box. And then number 3 is kind of the cherry on top, which is, do they have a very built-in passionate audience that may be a new audience to us? So when that happens, that actually introduces us to new consumers. So we hope to introduce our brand with a partner and another brand, and then be able to keep those customers for a longer time.
So I know it's hard to even think about planning right now, but how are you going about looking ahead, and where, how much have you adapted, I guess, your initial plans based on new information, and how ongoing is that process, and just, what are you doing to figure out the future?
There's normal circumstances, and there's this nice surprise that we're living through right now. Normal circumstances, we actually do an incredibly good job of forecasting because we're on a really long lead cycle, and uh, we're a seasonal business. So we work with our largest customers a year in advance. We know what they need when they need it, and we actually are a manufacturer as well. So we build the product that we need to deliver when they need to deliver it. So keep the trains running on time. Current situation, incredibly reactive, and we have to do as good a job as we possibly can in collecting data, gaining insights from that data, and then going into action. So there's all kinds of factors that play into this, but the biggest advantage we have is, again, we own our own manufacturing facility, and we're an American manufacturer. So we don't currently have to worry so much about importing goods like a lot of our competitive set does. We do have to worry about, our demand goes from 100 to 0 real quick, and then from 0 back to 100 even faster. And we then have to figure out how to align the labor pool to be able to get enough workers there with all the work they need to do, and build all the product that needs to get out. And when you have a lot of demand, then no demand, and then a lot more demand, we do as best we can, just like everybody else.
So some pretty solid evidence that you're doing something right. You're in the process of hiring. You're expanding. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what positions you're looking for, and then what kind of people you look for to join your team?
Yeah, I appreciate letting me share this. So thank you. Well, we have two offices. Our headquarters is out in Houston, Texas. We also have a satellite office in Southern California in Orange County. In Orange County, we have most of our e-commerce team, a lot of our new product development, and then the vast majority of our Playmate and partnerships team. So doing all that fun licensing and partnership activity happens here. We're having so much success that we're opening up a lot of new category management positions. So people specifically to manage what we're doing in the world of sports, in the world of action sports, in the world of music, in the world of food and beverage, and a few more positions like that. We're also looking for an e-com planner currently, and a couple graphic design positions. So encourage anybody who could be interested in one of those, go check out the Igloo careers page on igloocoolers.com, and I will save a desk for you.
Well, Brian, I want to thank you so much for your time today and all the insights. It's been great to learn from you, and thanks for sharing that with everyone.
All right, Rob, it's been a pleasure talking to you and catching up.